Oh shit, Mike. Okay. Good afternoon, evening, everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying their 2021. All right, I got sound good. I have a few topics I want to talk about. I'm going to keep it short, to be honest with you. Back to work, so I work third shift, so that means I'll be going in at 12 tonight for my Monday. So I'm going to try to keep this short, but a few things I want to discuss, in particularly this bill right here. Assembly Bill A416, for those that haven't had a chance to go over it, understand what it's about, or haven't caught it. Somebody that's reported on it. I'm going to pop the link in the live chat. It is pretty much everyone's worst fear become recognized. I know some of you are going to say, well, this is New York's legislation. Well, you live in Ohio, what do you care? Or I live in Missouri, California, Texas, North Carolina, Tennessee. This don't affect me. Oh, but it could. While we're all caught up, everybody's talking about the 6th, the beginning of the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021, New York City was trying to slide this bill into place. We're all focused on what's going to happen with our Congress and how they're going to either do what they say. A bunch of them are claiming they're going to do and reject certain states from the electoral vote. We'll see, but we can't let that blind us to what's happening elsewhere. It's very important for us to understand once a bill becomes law, it goes on the books and it can be used in a court of law anywhere, no matter where you're at in the United States. All one state has to do is reference this law. It passed. It hasn't had no objections. Will this go in front of the Supreme Court? Yeah, I hope it will. Will it pass? We don't know. There's talk that's not even going to pass, but it's there. The wording's dangerous. And on so many levels. That I don't think people understand you. Because when they start talking about relates to the removal of cases, contacts, and carriers of communicable diseases who are potentially dangerous to the public health. Which means if you have symptoms or you might be under quarantine for COVID, because we're not going to sit here and deny that COVID doesn't exist. It does. I've lost family members and friends to it. I just lost my uncle last week in Brazil to it. So it's real, but I've also known plenty of people that's got perfectly healthy now that had it. That's overcome it. So it's one of those things. But we also have what they're calling the super COVID going around now, the UK version, as Mr. Anderson told everyone about back in early November. That, oh no, that's not right. How it mutated. It took Europe restricting their airlines for it to get mainstream attention here in the United States. Other than that, they weren't talking about it. What's the consequences of this bill? It was introduced by M. of A. Perry, read once and referred to the Committee on Health. An act to amend the public health law in relation to the removal of cases, contacts, and carriers of communicable diseases who are potentially dangerous to the public health. The people of the state of New York, represented in the Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. The public health law is amended by adding a new section 2120A to read as follows. 2120A, removal and detention of cases. Now, keyword, there's detention. Of cases, contacts, and carriers who are or may be a danger to the public health, or orders. Orders is kind of interesting how they use that term. Orders could be state laws that require you to quarantine. So if you're violating those state laws or you're protesting the act of being imprisoned in your own homes, which is unconstitutional, you are a public threat, health threat. You are a public danger. Or your neighbor just don't like you and they just happen to say, "Oh, I think he's showing symptoms. Now let's see how dangerous this could be." Or they know you don't wear masks for any reason. I mean, we've seen how this got out of control in Canada with them barging into a house because they had 6 people in their house. Cops showed up because a neighbor reported them. Same thing could happen here. A neighbor sees you out and you forgot to put your mask on. Oh, so they're going to report you. We've seen the snitching programs early on in this. I mean, here in Ohio, Toledo, they were telling the people to, if you see people gathering or having parties at their house, to call the cops. All right, looks like we're back. Seems I'm having connection issues. So I'm not sure where things went haywire at. So let me finish reading this. This section shall be utilized in the event the governor declares a state of health emergency due to an epidemic of any communicable diseases. Well, there already are under a epidemic pandemic procedure, so therefore this would actually take an effect right away. Although, the governor of New York obviously don't care because, he was out dancing with his wife with the ball drop while everybody else was locked away, supposed to be locked away in their houses. So, like I said, politicians do what they want, and he's going to go to the Bills game that is allowed to have stands for the playoffs next week. Yeah, So it only applies to who they want it to play or when they want it to play. Upon determining by clear and convincing evidence that the health of others is or may be endangered by a close contact or carrier or suspected cases goes back to what I was saying, bring in the snitch patrol or that disgruntled neighbor of yours who don't like you or somebody that just happens to see you take your trash out without a mask. You are could be labeled as a suspected case, or you could be labeled as above section here, violating other orders of a contagious disease that, in the opinion of the governor, after consultation with the commissioner, may pose an imminent and significant threat to the public health, resulting in severe morbidity or high mortality. The governor or his or her delegee, including but not limited to the commissioner or the heads of local health departments, may order the removal or detention. Detention means incarceration, imprisonment, because you're being detained against your will, unless you voluntarily do it, which I wouldn't see why anybody would be dumb enough to do that, of such a person or of a group of such persons by issuing a single order, identifying such persons either by name or by reasonably specific descriptions of the individuals, which that adds into more problems. We know how people can misidentify people in lineups, or you just look like the person that they were actually after, and next thing you know, you're detained for however long they decide to keep you under quarantine, or vice versa. A group being detained. Such person or groups of persons shall be detained in a medical facility or other appropriate facility or premises designated by the governor or his or her delegee in complying with subdivisions 5 of this section. A person or group removed or detained by order of the governor or his or her delegee pursuant to subdivision 2 of the section shall be explanation matter and italics. Let's few more lines. Detained for such a period and in such a manner as the department may direct in accordance with this section, notwithstanding inconsistent provisions of the section. A confirmed case or carrier who is detained pursuant to subdivision 2 of this section shall not continue to be detained after the department determines that such a person is no longer contagious. A suspected, which, that can vary too. A suspected case or suspected carrier who is detained pursuant to subdivision 2 of this section shall not continue to be detained after the department determines with the exercise of due diligence, and we know how they like to do their due diligence, that such persons is not infected with or has not been exposed to such a disease or infected with or exposed to such a disease no longer is or will become contagious. You guys can keep reading on if you want. The more I read, the more I'm going to get pissed off about this, so I'm going to stop because it's stripping away of your freedoms. Yes, if you're sick, don't go out. Don't be around people. It's common sense. We all know that. But the wording in this is so dangerous on so many levels. Due diligence. At their due diligence. That means when they feel like it. Or if you've been known to be very vocal about said subject, their due diligence may be to let you sit and stew for a while. Now, they're saying this is probably more than likely not going to pass. But how many more other states are going to pick up on this and try it? I mean, California is already in an indefinite lockdown. I could see California jumping on this. It is funny. It's Democratic states that are doing this, but I live in Ohio, and I could see DeWine trying such a thing, which would be a little bit harder for him because our state legislative pretty much will strip any power that the health chick had. It has to go through our state legislation before anything can do, which is why a bunch got so tired of DeWine that tried to bring articles of impeachment, which won't go nowhere, sadly. But, the important thing is here, I need you guys to understand, not to get caught up and forget about things like this. I just happened to see it on my Twitter feed the other day, 21 hours ago. Nobody had reported on it, so I just shared it. Figure I want to come back. I want to do a video on this. I want to read it first, get the gist of it. And Tim Pool, he came out today and did a video on it, so I recommend, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. He has his own opinions and views on things, and it's good to take everybody's opinions and views. But I think one thing many of us have in common on this topic, it's unconstitutional. It violates our every right of sovereignty and freedom. There's so much terminology and language in that bill that can be abused just by how it's written. And we have the likes of Pelosi, who has just got confirmation as I started this podcast as the next Speaker of the House over McCarthy. It was close, but the swamp always wins in those matters, even though she's supposed to step down this year. We'll see. A set of lips will say anything. And coming from politicians, that's usually lies, because it's all they know how to spew from their lips. That's why I don't even trust what half these so-called congressmen said they're going to do on the 6th. It's one of those things where we have to really pay attention to what's going on. Just not here, but everywhere. I'm going to retweet this because I know how much my shit doesn't like getting thrown out there. And actually, I'll give you this. And there's the video that Tim Pool did right there. I'll share that too. The law allows cops to round up people. So, same thing, except I posted a link. You guys can read the law for yourself. And don't stop because it's, you think it's just, well, this is just New York State. It don't affect me. It does. That's where you guys irrevocably get things wrong. Once it comes passed, becomes a law, it's on the law books. Therefore, any court in the United States can reference this law to enact it in their state. Granted, it hasn't passed. But look at the repercussions. Like I said, think about it. Those that are opposed to, those are all for lockdowns, making people wear masks, stripping people of their identity and their freedom. Or they don't like your political views, could use this language in this bill to have you detained. And it could go as far just not detaining you, but your whole family or anyone you come in contact with. How are they going to prove who you came in contact with? Oh, we know he hangs with this person, this person. They all have the same mindset and mentality. They all are talking about putting an end to this. So let's round this group up, because they obviously were in contact, even though they weren't in contact. Somebody didn't like your social media tweet and reports you. This is how dangerous this bill is. It jeopardizes everyone's freedom. In fact, I'm going to use the proper term for detainment: internment camps. Now, as I was reading this before I fell asleep last night, I was reading this and fell asleep while I was reading this. So it tells you how much I enjoy reading bunches of lines of law, 116 actually, lines of law. And it's ridiculous. You know, I could, like I said, they're in the language here thus far, from what I've got through, they have not even talked about the mutated version of the COVID. How long before they start becoming paranoid again, or thinking, okay, we can use this new mutated version to re-put in place lockdowns or push bills like this and get them to pass? Now, if you live in New York State, I suggest you be blowing up your representatives' phones and telling them this bill better not even leave the table. And I suggest everybody else that's paying attention to this start paying attention more to your state legislations as well and what they're trying to do. Because they love passing bills right up under your noses while you're distracted. It is one of their favorite tactics. We've just kind of skirted about January 6th. Well, I know where I'll be on January 6th. Will not be in DC. As tempting as it was, now I'll be under the knife in a dental chair. Because believe me, this one was tempting. But, my health comes first. And I got a few teeth that need to go. I consider myself lucky. Great health. And I do understand a lot of people aren't as lucky. I have a great immune system, thank God. Very seldom get sick. In fact, the last time I was sick was last year. It was actually around this time of the year. And, a few of us we're positive that we were one of the first few that caught the COVID, because it was everything that they say it was, that's what we felt. And it was miserable. I mean, it took weeks to get over. It took some of us realizing you just had to sleep it off for like 2 days. Full bed rest or sleep and not overdo it. That's my personal opinion, Stephen. They do it all the time. It's smoke and mirrors. They love smoke and mirrors. They love to distract us over here with this while everybody's caught off guard. But let's say that, hey, they really get courageous and just slide it in and hurry up and pass it, and you guys get caught in these states. Because I'm guarantee you this won't be the first state that tries this. Next thing you know, you're trapped. There's something else I don't think a lot of people has given too much thought about. Who's planning on going to DC on the 6th? I suggest you go through your route that you will be taking and find out which states are requiring quarantine, because there's several that require you upon entering the state to quarantine. You might not make it into DC. It's the little information like that people neglect to tell people. Just like first thing I'm going to be asked Wednesday when I go to the dentist, before I can even be worked on, have I traveled outside the country? Have I left the state? If so, have I quarantined for 14 days upon coming back to the state? If I say I left the state to go, say I went to Michigan to M&M Smokehouse to buy a bunch of meat, so we have food for this month, then I will not get my dental procedure done. Hypothetically speaking, But, I showed on our podcast on the other night our New Year's Eve podcast, I pulled up my phone record for that Google stores, and it shows you every place I've been since like 2014. Yep, exactly. It'll start with those big Democratic states. Well, Cali's already on an indefinite lockdown. I was actually more shocked to see this bill originate from New York. This is something I would see more from California, Washington, Portland, all those areas. And then people wonder why so many Californians are moving to Texas, which is screwing Texas. It's screwing the demographics of Texas up, and it's going to eventually flip Texas to more of a Democratic state than a Republican state. See, dangers of mass migrations. You want to change the demographics of a state. You force people to move there with the same ideals. That's where I kind of disagreed with something Tim Pool said about what's happening in Portland. You know, you know, if you don't like it, you can't. They made the decision. They they reelected these officials. So be it. I don't have to live there. I'll go someplace else to another state where I'm surrounded by like-minded people. It's a good thought. It's a good idea. It's something good to think about. But here's what you also got to think about when you do that, and they see you do that, and they see you do that. They realize, okay, we've got this state. Now let's start pushing people out of this state with our mentality into that state where everybody else would. Let's change the demographics of that state, much like is what's happening in Texas from California. Everybody going from California to Texas is eventually going to change the demographics, which will change over time the people that get put in the office. And we'll see much similar laws that we see in California start being passed in Texas. That's how certain, like Minneapolis and stuff, we've seen a bunch of demographics change there. And yeah, it's out of control there. That's why it's important to understand and pay attention to the simplest things. As a human being, we are easily distracted. I use the term from some of my favorite fantasy writers, Kenders. It's a race, fantasy race. Anything shiny, they're distracted. They're easiest thing to distracted. And we as humans, we're much like Kenders. We're easily distracted on certain things. They dangle something shiny in front of us. We're on it, and we miss what's going over here. We get caught up in the subterfuge and smoke and mirrors. That's okay, free spirit prepping the news. Like I said, it's back to work for me tonight, so this ain't gonna be a long one. It's just like me. I have to go to work. You know, I have to work. I can't afford to be shut down, locked down. I got blessed. The place I worked for paid all of its workers during the lockdown. I consider myself one of the lucky ones because a bunch of places didn't. Got lucky. I was able to work all but 3 days of that shut down and locked down. Considering this as an essential worker. Everybody else that couldn't work because it was limited, they paid them regular 40 hours. That way they could keep their benefits and health benefits. No, a lot of places didn't do that. A lot of people, oh, you need to go on unemployment. And the ones who were on unemployment were making way more money than those of us actually were getting paid hazard pay and time and a half. I mean, talk about the irony of it. And it pissed a lot of people off because we got screwed. Much like we got every American got screwed with the stimulus package. Here's $600. Shut up. Oh, because Trump said 2,000, we're not going to give it to you. But yet they sent billions under that with that $600 package to foreign countries, Egypt, Iran, Pakistan, many of which we're not allies with. But yet then we had the politicians that opposed the $2,000 screaming, I'm thinking of our grandchildren and children, our children's grandchildren. No, you're not. If you were thinking about them, you wouldn't have passed a bill that gave well over $1 billion to foreign countries that we're never going to see back. You know, I agree with everybody. I'm sick of our Congress. I'm just not sick of our Congress. It needs all be replaced from the bottom up. That includes at state level all the way to the Supreme Court. They've failed us time and time again. They don't represent the people. Not even the ones that scream they do. Because you can easily go to government.org and pull up every bill that they've been on and see how they voted, and you'll see they're just as guilty as the rest of them. Or, you know, oh, that bill has over 500 pages. We only had 2 hours to read it, as AOC so claimed, which she was right. She brought, you know, this broad brings up good points from time to time that, oh, well, and that's the thing. Everybody knows, oh, she's going to keep running her mouth. She's comic relief. She's ditzy, doesn't know what she's saying. But she is right. Over a 500-page bill with so much shit in it that we don't even, until you sit down, spend a couple days reading the thing, 507-page bills. I'm not a speed reader, so it takes me a couple days to read something that big. You have to interpret it then. Oh, you take a couple more days interpreting the language before you can even talk about it. By then, it's already passed. We already got over $1 billion going to foreign countries. And we had senators that voted for it. AOC voted yes. Even though she brought up that it's ridiculous. And you're right, it is ridiculous. The bill process is ridiculous how they do it. These 500,000, 2,000, 300 pages for a bill. Then when you start reading it, almost 90% of it has nothing to do with the actual bill. It's stuff they added in to get passed because they know it's a topic that's more than likely to pass. So they can throw all this other stuff in there they want passed that they know if they bring it up by itself won't get passed. With that needs to stop. And I blame President Trump on that. He should have came out right flat out and said, I only want to see bills on my desk that are about the bill. Anything that's added into it, I will not sign. I will send it back. If we're talking about a stimulus care for people, it should only have been about that. It should have been covering small businesses, unemployment, health coverage, getting health coverage while people are laid off without work, and a money package. It shouldn't have had, oh, let's send what 63 million I think it was to Pakistan for transgender education, which pretty much violates their religious beliefs right there, the most of that country. So, you know, it's sick. It's ridiculous. It's gotten so out of control. Then you turn around and see a state bill like this. How long before our Congress members decide, oh, we need this? You know, we already had Pelosi wanting to do away with the words mother, father, child, granddaughter, banning those words from Congress. You know what? And here's where the Supreme Court fails us on yet again. It's a very simple fucking answer to the fucking Constitution on this matter. Everybody's created equal. Everybody's free to have the freedom of choice and freedom of expression. But to this date, there is one thing that's consistent. You can't change your DNA. Your DNA states if you're male or female. Period. You can be what you want to be. You have that right. It's protected under the Constitution. But don't expect anything else. If you choose to be that way, fine. In fact, if you want to be something that you're not, that's okay too. Go have the surgery. Have it completely done before you start screaming, well, we need transgender bathrooms. Well, we need bathrooms that's for everybody. Because we've seen how that worked out. You know, I have no problems with homosexuals, transgenders, or any of that. Because that's your right. That's your freedom. You know, they use that just as much as they use the race card, which they shouldn't be using either one. It's quite simple. The Constitution is quite clear. It's very black and white on the matter. We are all equal. We all have freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of speech. But that offends people, especially when you start talking about homosexuality and transgender. It offends Christians. Well, our forefathers fled persecution from the church, where if they had ideals different from the church, they were labeled heathens and heretics and pagans and persecuted. Our founding fathers did not want that to be here. That's why they gave everyone the freedom of religion. It's something we need to start embracing and respecting. Just because a person has a different religious belief does not make them a bad person. Because they've sowed so much discord and division. And transgenders is a form of division. It's changing an aspect, much like labels are divisions. They're to subcategorize you and divide you. I am me. My name is Andrew, or Drew, or Smiley, whichever one of the nicknames you want to use. That's who I am. I am not some celebrity YouTuber. I am not anything. I refuse to let a label define me. I am me. Or I am that I am. And some people might take offense to that. But it is true. We are who we are. We are not some label. And we are definitely not no puppets to these fucking politicians. We're not their slaves. In fact, it's supposed to be the other way around. We are their masters. They're our representatives. They're supposed to listen to us, which they don't do. Each of us have choices to make this year. Those choices are going to be profound on how we choose to do things, where we choose to take our stance. But we need to find common ground with each other. We need to find unity, and we need to drive these issues home time and time again. We need to start addressing the corruption, the things that they're doing. Like I said, I've clearly stated, as a direct descendant of a signer of the Constitution, I will never recognize Biden as my president. Not until there's investigations to prove whether or not there was election fraud. Independent from Congress, because we can't trust our congressmen. Independent from the federal alphabet gangs, because they've proven in the last 4 years that they cannot be trusted. You know, we have representatives in the state of Pennsylvania claiming that there was grievous errors done. Same way in Georgia, same in Arizona. Let's get to the bottom of it before we can truly name any president. Let our Constitution be clear on that, and it is very clear in how this process should take place. It is also up to us to continue the movement. For those that are going to DC, I commend you. Just know what you're getting into, and don't be a provocateur. The one thing the MAGA family have taught us, the MAGA rallies have taught us, how peaceful we are. Let our voices be heard. It is time for our voices. It's time for voices to speak up against bills like this. New York State's Assembly Bill A416. It's time that our voices be heard when it comes to our politicians violating their oaths of office. Pelosi, if she passes that law in Congress, has violated her oath to uphold and protect the Constitution because she's violating the principle of free speech and she needs to be removed. But unfortunately, she lives in a state that does not allow its citizens to recall a senator. So therefore, you have to blow up the phone lines of your Congress and petition for an ethics violation, which is heard by their own peers, selected congressmen and congresswomen. So therefore, you'll never get a real ethic violation because they're not going to turn on their own. They're going to select, okay, we want this majority Democrat so we can protect her. No, it's not the way it's supposed to be. It was never supposed to work like that. Things got to change. The only way things are going to start changing is when we start using our voices and start demanding of our representatives, you do this. Okay, you're not going to do this? Fine. Well, we're going to find someone in our state that will. We can clean up the corruption. But it starts with us using our voices, us putting our foot down. We've had enough. It starts at the state levels just as much as the federal level. It starts us telling our governors, fuck you, we're not abiding by your curfew, we're not abiding by your lockdowns, we're done. You've cost our states millions in jobs. You cost people to be almost put in homeless by your actions. Mike DeWine in the state of Ohio is a defunct governor. He violated the Constitution, so therefore no one has to listen to him. He can't make laws. He lost that right. And we have had cops here in the Ohio state the very same thing. He violated the Constitution. He's a defunct governor. We're not going to uphold any law he passes when it comes to COVID. You know, we seen out, I think it was out in Kansas. We seen out in Kansas, people said it had enough. They started telling people to reopen their business, storming closed businesses. They're done. People are tired of this crap. We gave them an inch and they took more than 25,000 miles of rope from us. They realized they could strip us of our rights, control us, and make us so dependent on them that so many people were so happy to get $600. Be damned the consequences, be damned where all this rest of this money went. They don't even want to hear where it went. Oh no, we got $600. You got raped, is what you got. They added to the national deficit by giving over $1 billion to foreign countries and couldn't give you an extra 600 or extra 400 or an extra anything. Nope. And then we had Mitch McConnell just tie everything up because the dick he is. Well, karma's a bitch, as we all know. So it's cause and effect. That's what I believe in. I don't believe in karma. It's cause and effect. And we've seen the repercussions of those cause and effect. They're not above the law. And it's time we start demanding them be held accountable. It's time that we make sure that they realize they are just average day, ordinary citizens. And the law there ain't two laws, there's one. They can be held accountable by the law because the law affects them just as much as it does us. That's the huge issue with the police department. You only might have a small percentage, 2-3% that are bad. But unfortunately, when all the good ones don't do their due diligence and remove the bad and keep turning a blind eye, you see the consequences of that. You become no better than those that are guilty. In fact, you are actually conspirators of that guilt by protecting them, harboring them, when you should be reporting them, demanding that justice be done. When you guys start doing that, you'll start winning back the respect of the American people. When you start cleaning up your departments, you'll have the American people behind you. The same goes for each and every one of us who have our own little groups. You got a bad apple in that group, clean it up. Now, actions speak louder than words. And as I said, set of lips will say anything. Live by your actions. Let your actions speak for themselves. Many of which are going to use their right to freedom to protest, freedom to assembly and protest in DC. Your actions on that day will speak volumes. So remember that. For those of you who are going, remember what your actions are going to. You're going to be on full view. Every camera is going to be on you. Let your voices be heard. Let that be your action. We can discuss other actions at another time when that time is appropriate. Right now, it's much like you follow the steps. Step 1, assemble. Use your voice. Be peaceful. Make your presence known. Step 2, continue. Let them see you. Let them know you're not going to take it anymore. And you go down through the steps. I don't think I need to write a pretty picture of how the steps go. Because, I know some people, they still want to talk about, well, this is going to be revolutionary if this don't happen. No, it won't. We are not ready for that, not one bit. We're too divided and too disorganized. There's no unity amongst us. We've allowed too much discord and division to even think about the big R word. Because we'll be at each other's throat, pitted against each other, and they'll use the same tactics they keep using: racism, sexism, and the list of labels go on and on that we allow to divide us. So don't bite into that just yet. Find ways to unite. Stop the division. Find peaceful resolutions amongst our diverse communities, realizing that everybody has a voice. Everybody is protected under the Constitution. Let the Constitution be your rallying cry. That which the Constitution says and is supposed to be upheld. The very thing we bitch about that our senators, our congressmen, our House representatives, our state legislations, our governors, our mayors do not respect. Where everybody's to be treated equally, no matter what their skin color is, no matter what their religion is, we're all equal. When we finally break those chains, guess what? They can't control us. When we stop using the labels that they deem appropriate for us, they can't control us. Then they fear us. A government without fear becomes tyrannical. For only when they fear the people do they step in line. They have no fear of us because we can't do nothing. There's only 7 states that can recall their senators. The rest of us got to depend on congressmen and women to judge their peers, which we know will never happen. Things for you to think about as this year proceeds. We've got more and more things we're going to face. We've got the super COVID. We've got states like New York trying to pass legislation like this. We've got an election that's still up for debate, which is a division point amongst us, a big one. Not people don't want to talk about it, but it is. All of us Trump supporters, yes, we feel and fully believe Trump won. But on the same side, all the Biden supporters believe the same thing. Therefore, we are a nation divided. We need this to play out right. We need this to be investigated, clear-cut evidence presented. And we need to be able to accept the results, whichever way it goes. Because if we don't, there'll be those provocateurs amongst us, those ones that have embedded themselves in our groups, under our various labels, who will use that to split us apart and divide us. They were put there for a reason. They know what they're doing, just like every congressman and representative know what they're doing when they play the division game. They want everybody divided. Smoke and mirrors. Everybody's distracted. Everybody's so stern about arguing about petty little things that they can't come together and find common ground. Let this year be the year of building unity, finding common ground, and taking back our government. Taking a stand where stands need to be. I'm not a Christian. Was happy to take a stand with other Christians about their church places of worship being shut down because it's unconstitutional. Just like I took stand with other religions that had their places of worship shut down. It doesn't matter what our religious belief is, or our spirituality is, or what we claim to be. It's just a label. We're supposed to be, that's our freedom of religion, it's supposed to be protected at all costs. Our faith in those religions should be protected at all costs. There is a common ground where everybody could have got together and stood as one. But no, it's the Muslims, it's the Jews, it's the pagans. I can't support them. They deserve to have their temples closed. That's the mentality that keeps getting us where we're at. Until you can break that mentality and find common ground, or remember what the New Testament says about that, and practice what you preach, we might get somewhere. And I hope we do. I've worked with people I dislike, despise, all for a common purpose and a common goal. I've worked with people that hate me for my beliefs, but we had a common goal, a common thing that we found a way to allow it to unite us. And some of us are friends, not friends. I don't despise them anymore. I see them for what they are. Somebody that's open-minded, that still believes in what the Constitution as it is. So, in the coming months, start reaching out to people. Start finding that common ground in unity. Start taking back your states. Start taking back our governments. Let's keep putting these people on the spot when they open their mouth and spew lies. When they do something like this, try to pass a bill that is meant to detain us, put us in detention centers or hospitals or who knows what, because they don't define detention centers, where it's so open that your disgruntled neighbor who don't like your politics, I'm going to get this person detained. The next thing you know, his whole household gets detained, because it will happen. They're not stupid when they create this legislation. They know what they can do and get off. It's up to you. Decide how this year is going to go. Each and every one of us has a say. Each and every one of us has choices. Yes, there will be consequences to our choices. Some good, some bad. But from this day forward, let's at least make the effort to make the change that is needed, the change that we all want. And it starts with each and every one of us making a choice. It starts with businesses out there choosing to open their stores back up. Yes, it's a choice that has consequences. We've seen people get sued, but I've seen here in the state of Ohio, those who got taken to court or lost their license just to have food, serve liquor, win because it was deemed unconstitutional. You have laws you can find and use in your state. Why? Because once a law is passed, it can be used to challenge another law that's unconstitutional. And because it's stated as unconstitutional, you have almost a guaranteed win in your state. Laws are a lovely little thing, as much as they are damning. It's a two-edged sword. Just got to know how to use it. And our politicians know how to use it. They got lawyers up the ass that know how to manipulate the wordings. That's why they loosely word things or leave things, put wording that such things that, or as ordered. Wait, so if I violate an order that was ordered, I violate a law. Order can mean law too. A law is ordered by the state. So therefore, if you break that law and decide to, oh, I'm not going to abide by this curfew, I'm not going to abide. See what I'm saying? How dangerous this bill is? You know, don't play with me on the word games. I'm quite good at them when I need to be. And when I choose to use them, you know, there's power in words. That's why the most powerful weapon every one of us have is our voice. Don't let them silence it. Don't give them control over it. I'm being censored, yes. I know that. And a part of it, I don't advertise. Something I learned about YouTube a long time ago is the smaller your channel is, the less notice. You're more able to slip through the algorithms, and I know how to play the algorithm game anyway. So some of it's intentional. I don't, like I said, I don't broadcast my channel. I don't say hit the like button. I don't tell people to share. None of that. If you want to share, share. I don't care. If you want to hit the thumbs down, go ahead. In fact, I'll probably be happy to hit the thumbs down because, hey, I just triggered you. I just made you think. So to me, it's never been about the numbers. It's about what I put out there. And believe me, YouTube may throttle me. My last video got over 1,000 views on the mines. My last video has got over 500 reach on my WordPress site. My content gets out there. I know how to work the web. I've been doing it for a while. I know how to get past their algorithms. Their little jank, trip me up bullshit. And it does help when you know how to play their game just as well as they play it. But one day they're going to get me. I'm not stupid to that fact. But I want to wish you guys all a good night. I'm at the hour mark, and the mines will shut me down at the hour mark, so I got to get a little sleep before I have to be at work tonight. Hope you guys enjoy this new year. It's up to you to do what you want to do with it. Every site on this web is a tool, and I mean every site. Internet Archives. I mean, I'm affiliated with so many. Right now I'm working, so I don't have time to push my content everywhere like I used to. But like I said, This is your guys' year. And don't worry, my hiatus is over. I will be doing videos more frequently this year. And we'll be taking things in a much different direction in the months to come with this channel. Things that I've been wanting to do for a while, bringing more people on, interacting with more people, letting you hear other people's views and opinions, that's going to happen this year. It's already started happening. And we're going to continue to do what we do.